Really delicious.
Okay, so welcome. Here we are after Hanukkah with the impressions of.
After Sufganiyot.
I don't know about Sufganiyot. I didn't know any
didn't
Sufganiyot,
have
but
one.
of the
I
lights,
don't like
the
them.
lights.
Yeah, they're not, I don't
Yeah, either do I. Okay.
I made
what's
latkes.
happening here?
like. I made latkes instead of,
Yeah.
Well, they turned out good.
Okay, so here we are, parshat Vayigash.
That's my son's planet.
Yeah, Vayigash. So what happens is that I'll just bring you up to where we are. Last week we ended up that Yosef takes, he keeps the brothers, he makes them bring down Benyamin, the youngest son, Yaakov's youngest son, and Yehudah takes responsibility for him. And then they put the goblet in his bag, and Yosef wants to keep him there, and Yehudah gets very, very upset. So Vayigash, he says, like, Yosef stretched the rope, it's too much. And he is not going to let this, so he says, listen, tell me, I'll be your slave instead, and let him go back to his father. And he says, and he speaks to him very, very strongly. And the fact that he says to him, don't be angry, Rashi learns that means that he's saying things that you don't usually say to a person of that caliber. A king, he's almost like the king of Egypt.
Yeah.
And he explains to him, he says, listen, that Benjamin came down because you requested it. And Yaakov did not want him to come down. It's his only son from Rachel. And he said, I guaranteed, personally, I guaranteed that I would bring him back safely. So now, if I cannot return him, then I'm worried about what's going to happen to Yaakov. So it's interesting that the Medrashim, one Medrash says, Rabbi Yehudah says that the verb Vayigash implies to approach in battle, like he came, Vayigash, he came like, he's ready to fight. And he brings the example from Shmuel where it says that Yoav and the people that were with him, they approached in battle. So the word Vayigash means like you're ready to fight. Then he brings, Rabbi Nehemiah said that the verb he approached implies to come near for conciliation. Just like the children of Yehudah approached Yoshua, and it meant we want to get close, like we want to conciliate. And then he brings Rabbi Elazar, who combines all these views together and says, one minute, the sages say that it implies coming near for prayer. Just like it came to pass at the time of the evening offering when Elijah, the prophet, Eliyahu Hanavi, he approached and he prayed. It's okay, sacrifices the prayer. And so Rabbi Elazar puts all these together and he says that Yehudah approached Yosef with all these three. He said, if it has to be war, it'll be war. And if he's willing to conciliate, that's fine. And if not, and of course he's praying, to Hashem that he should help him as well. Now it's interesting that he called Yosef the servant of our father. He said, your servant, our father. Now, like I said before, he said he's the only surviving child of our father, his most beloved wife, and his older brother disappeared many years ago, and our father's life is bound up with his nafsho kshura b'nafsho. His life is bound up with Benyamin's life. So if he sees that the boy is not with us, he's going to die, and your servants will bring down the head of your servant, our father, with sorrow to the grave. That's what he says in the Chumash. In other words, he calls Yaakov your servant. And it says that 10 times Yosef heard his brothers refer to his father as your servant. and he didn't protest like his father's a servant. And because of that, his life was shortened by 10 years. And he lived only till 110.
Yosef,
Yosef, yeah.
because he did not.
He didn't protest to the fact that that he's calling his father his servant.
Why were they calling him their
They
father
didn't,
his servant?
because they had no idea that this was Yosef.
And
this
he
was their
wanted
brother.
to hide himself from the fact that he is the brother until he wanted to reveal it.
Well, then that was soon. You'll see, like he turns around, he
It's
cries.
a little bit unfair.
He kicks everybody out, and then he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to embarrass them. He doesn't want. He knows that they're going to be upset, and it's like reminding them of the fact that they sold him, and they'll be so embarrassed. So he doesn't want to embarrass them. In any case, what Yehudah says is, "I'm more useful to you in every regard. I'm stronger. I'm a warrior. I can be a servant. I'm more experienced. I'm older. He's a little boy. Let him go. Take me instead." And it's interesting that we always learn that there's midah keneged midah. In other words, that measure for measure. That Yehudah sold Yosef. He was the one who gave the idea to sell Yosef, and now he offers himself as a slave.
That makes sense.
To him. So it's like what goes around comes around, right?
Uh-huh.
Anyway, so now he's ready to reveal himself to his brothers because he is so emotional and he can't stand before his angry and frightened and confused brothers. And so after 22 years of separation from his family, he is at the age he's like 39 years old. He was 17. And he's finally reconnecting with his brothers, and he asks everyone to leave the room. And when he's alone with his brothers, he reveals his identity, and he says that he cried out loud, that it was heard all over Egypt. In the house of Paro, they were able to hear the scream where he cried.
My goodness.
Hi, welcome. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Okay,
I
so
brought actually also something.
we're celebrating.
Everyone will eat.
So how old are you now?
I'm very old.
Stand up and show us your face. Remember we used to say that?
You're not old at all.
Yeah, I'm very old.
When I say I'm
You could put it anywhere.
Skena, they don't permit me to
Are you not
say it.
telling us your age?
No.
Okay.
Why not?
You should be proud.
Here were you
Yeah.
born?
You should be proud.
After 40, you don't say.
We start counting down. I'm not so sure, but okay.
You sure?
It says Ben Arbaim lebina. Bina, that's when you get your wisdom,
Really?
when you're 40. So you start understanding things.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm almost 75. So why would you not be?
That's right. And she's saying it very proudly. So
That's right.
you earned it. You earned it.
No, most people.
Okay. Anyway, so Yosef was 39. He was still young. And he's revealing himself. He's revealing himself to his brothers. And he wants to soften the shock. Okay. He doesn't want them to be so terrified. So first of all, he says, I am Yosef. Is my father still alive?
Mhm.
And the brothers didn't answer because they were like, they were terrified. They were in shock. So, so it's interesting also that Rabbi Elazar teaches us, Torah b'lashon hora. We're supposed to learn from everything that the Torah tells us. That he says like this: look, if this was so emotional, in other words, that if a person rebukes a person of flesh and blood, and it causes you such a reaction, how much more so if it's from Hashem? So if Hashem, we're standing, like you're standing in front of your brothers and you're feeling embarrassed for what you did. Just imagine standing in front of Hashem and you have to answer to him for what you did. So,
So the brothers would have to do that also, to stand in front of Hashem for selling him.
That's right, but then you see the reaction. But Rabbi Elazar says that every time he would come to this verse, he would cry because he would feel how, this would make him feel, I'm standing in front of Hashem, how I'm supposed to, okay. Anyway, he wants to soften the initial shock, and he was afraid maybe they were thinking that he wants to revenge. that he's angry or so. So he, first of all, he wants to prove that it's true. So he shows them that he had a brit milah, which shows that he's really their brother. Actually, he made all of Egypt do brit milah, but he was the one who did it. So he was the one who forced them. And he speaks very gently, and he explains to them that the whole entire chain of events, he says, from the moment that they sold him until now, he says everything is hashgacha pratit, it's all divine providence. And it's divine providence directing everything that to this outcome. And here I was able to feed you. What would you have done if I wasn't here? In other words, until I came to this position. And so you have no reason to worry, he says. And he says, hurry back to Yaakov, to our father in the land of Israel, and tell him about the great news that I'm still alive. And since there are 5 more years of famine, he says, tell him, my father, to come down with his whole household to Egypt, because I will provide him all his needs here in Egypt. And he embraces Benyamin. Now, it's interesting, it says that when he embraces Benyamin embraces him, they each cried over each other's shoulder. And the crying over each other, so Rashi says he cried because in Benyamin's territory will be the Beis Hamikdash and it will be destroyed. He's crying over the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, which will be. And Benyamin is crying over the destruction of Mishkan Shiloh, which was in Yosef's territory. So why doesn't each one cry about their own destruction? Why are they each crying about the other ones? And the Rebbe says something very interesting, and he says that whenever someone is in trouble or they have some sort of problem, you can't just sit down and cry. You have to do something. So for my own destruction, I can't cry because I have to do something to prevent it, to fix it, or whatever. But for your destruction, I can only cry and only feel your pain because I can't do anything for you. And you can feel my pain, so you can cry for me. But that is the reason why they each cried over each other's. And so when you care about a person and you really feel their pain, so you could cry, but the person himself has to get up and do something. You can't just, it says like one pi'ula is worth 10 sighs. You're going to sit and sigh, like, you're going to sit and sigh. It's not going to get you anywhere. It won't, no progress. So you got to do something. So that is an interesting insight. And then the news spreads really, really fast throughout the whole king's household. And Paro's very happy. He's very pleased. And he says, well, like this boy, Yosef, I thought he was just like a homeless, Here I see he has a respectable family. He has the heritage.
Thing that he was, I believe that Pharaoh felt so good is because he knew that every time somebody like a tzaddik, like Yaakov, he's going to be making the dream that Yosef said. I mean, not Yosef. Yosef already did it before, but he knew that it would be 10 times fold.
If God is blessing Yosef, then how much more so the family, that's a blessed family.
And he's coming physically there, so it would be a place. In fact, when Yosef was taken, with his bone, the Egyptian didn't want that because they would feel that the good fortune would be living with them.
Right. So anyway, Paro says, you know what? Fine, bring your father down, bring your family down. I'm going to give you a place to live, and I'll supply you with all your needs. And it's wonderful. So he loads them with gifts and food, and the brothers go home. It says they ascend to Canaan because Israel is always on a higher level of land. And so they olim la'aretz, you don't go down, you go up. And they go to tell their father the great news. And when Yaakov hears these words, that Yosef od chai, he actually doesn't believe it. And it's interesting that they lied before. When a person lies, you don't believe them afterwards. Yeah. It's like the boy who cried wolf, right? So he actually didn't believe them. But they convinced their father because they They show them all kinds of signs as proof, and all these, and it says that after all these years of mourning, he was brought back to life. Yaakov, like he was brought back to life, and the spirit of Yaakov was revived, sort of. Now it's interesting that what was it that convinced him that it's true?
The granddaughter, right?
No, she did it. Serach Batasha will soon see about her. But first of all, Yosef sent wagons. He sent wagons to carry whatever, and when it was actually a message, and Yaakov understood the message. Let me explain to you what it was. When they parted, Yosef was sitting with his father and he was learning. And they were studying the laws of Egla Arufa. Egla and Agala is the same word, right?
Mm.
So Egla Arufa is like the beheaded heifer. That when you behead it, I'll tell you what the story is. That if somebody passes away, not on your territory, okay, in the field in between. So they call the Beit Din and they have to come and say, we didn't kill him. Like we had nothing to do with it. And then you have to start thinking like maybe we didn't feed him, maybe we didn't treat him right, maybe it is our fault. And someone has to take responsibility. So they take this, actually the Medrash says that when Yaakov sent Yosef to meet his brothers, he escorted him like for a while, and then he said, "Father, go back. I shouldn't be punished troubling you. Like, why are you coming with me?" And Yaakov said to him, "Listen, this if you don't have a proper escort, like if you don't properly escort a traveler and he's killed, then you have to bring an egla arufa and proclaim our hand did not spill this blood." And then they behead this egla. So the ikaron, the principle behind this egla arufa is that a person is responsible for what happens outside of his domain, not only what happens, within. In other words, it's outside the area that's in my control. So you're also responsible for that. Like you could think it's out of my territory, it's out of my domain, I have nothing to do with it. But if a murdered traveler is found out in the field, the elders, like I said, of the nearest city, they have to go out there and bring a egla arufa to atone for the crime. And even though it happened outside of their jurisdiction, it was nevertheless their responsibility to see that the traveler has adequate provisions for protection. You have to protect him.
איך כותבים ערפה?
Arufa,
Right.
ayin, it's a la'arof, to behead. Egla arufa, it's called. Now, the deeper significance of the message, that this is the deeper significance of the message that Yaakov sent to his father, saying, listen, I didn't forget what you taught me. We were learning about the Egla arufa, and even though I was exiled to Egypt and I am in such a terrible environment of impurity, I didn't let my soul travel to this other side of Egypt without provision, and I have not abandoned
I'm your son.
I'm the same Yosef that I was before I left. And I didn't abandon you for a spiritual death. Like I did not, I didn't die, okay? And my soul didn't die. And even though I'm outside of my element, I stayed, apart from it, and I kept the mitzvot. So this is after 22 years of slavery, of imprisonment, of political power in the most disgusting society of earth. I am the same Yosef who left you on the day we studied the Egla Arufa.
And I'd like to add one more thing, that the gift that he sent shows prosperity, that he left, that he was, like they say, God prospers us. So he gave him to know that I'm not just saying that I
I'm
have,
proving it.
I'm your son and I didn't forget you and I've done everything, but the rewards that God has given to me according to my behavior,
Okay.
I'm showing it to you. you know?
This is proving. So
Yeah.
in other words, the message, this is what it means, that he revived the spirit of Yaakov.
Yeah.
Yaakov, he gave him back his life, because this is what the Lubavitcher Rebbe says, because he showed him that he stayed true to his roots. Anyway, so Yaakov agrees to go down to Egypt, and he's going to merit to see, his beloved son again in his lifetime. He says, "Who knows how long I have to live?" And I want to be with him before I die. So the end of the parsha, he goes down to Egypt, and he sets out on his journey. He travels with simcha, with joy, and he goes with his entire family. It says that he stops in Beersheba. Like, what did he go to Beersheba for? And it says he brought a sacrifice. So the reason he came to Beersheba is very interesting, because it says that he went to cut down the cedar trees that his grandfather Avram had planted in Beersheba. And the reason is that these cedar trees he took along with him to Egypt. And when they left Egypt, they took them with them. From these cedar trees, they created the sanctuary.
Oh.
They said, where in the desert do they have these cedar trees? They took them out with them from Egypt. And actually, all the years that they were in Egypt, these cedar trees served as a link to their past and a promise to their future. So he's trying to tell them,
Which kind of tree?
the cedar tree.
It smells. You put it in the closets,
It
right?
keeps away.
Yeah, we used to put the
moths.
balls, right? The
Yeah,
ball.
it keeps away moths.
Anyway, so he says to them, this is not your home. Like, you're here in Egypt now, but this is not your place. And these trees here, it came from a holier place. Like, when you see these trees, these came from Israel. And we're soon going to leave and go back to our land, and Hashem will reclaim us as his people. And we're going to, uproot. He's going to uproot us from this foreign land, and he's going to carry us back to to Mount Sinai, to where we get the Torah, and make for us a dwelling place. Shahanti b'tocham. He
What's
will-
cedar in Hebrew? Cedar is what?
What did you say? Mold? What did you say?
Oh, she said that's what the mothballs are made of.
Clothing. Moth. M-O-T-H, right?
Moth, a moth, like
Yeah.
most Guvim, but they
They
eat your clothes.
Ah.
They eat your clothes on
Cedar
cedar.
is,
They don't like the smell of cedar.
Which one is? Which tree in Hebrew?
It's Erez.
Eretz.
It's Erez.
It's Eretz.
Erez. Aleph Resh Zayin. It's Erez.
Just a second. It's
I'd say
this is the
Arazim.
That's the name.
translation of the.
Oh, the cedar. Cedar in Hebrew is it's Erez.
Erez. In Hebrew, and most in English.
I'd say Arazim.
Cider, it's just.
Cedar.
CEDAR.
So, I've
What?
heard some people with name Aaron. I didn't know that's the meaning.
Yeah, cedar.
It's like a strong tree, very strong.
My brother-in-law was,
And it's the
Ezra.
one.
But that's with an Aleph. This is with an Aleph.
My husband's name is Ezra.
Oh, yeah?
Sion Ezra. But I knew him as Ezra.
So anyway, while he's in Beersheba, Hashem blesses him, and he appears to him, and he tells him, you're going. Don't worry, don't be afraid, because this is like the beginning of the Galut Mitzrayim. This was what was meant to be, and he says that your family will grow, you will become a great nation, and ultimately Hashem will bring the Jews up from Egypt and return them to the land of their forefathers. And he says not to fear, because I'll go with you into Egypt. Hashem is going with us. And it's interesting because when they
Maybe you open this.
I used to use my teeth to open those.
What?
Vices.
I can.
Yeah.
I do not.
it says that they were 70 nefashot when they went into Egypt. And first of all, it shows how much Hashem loves his children, and he goes with them. When they go to Galut, he goes with them. In Talmud Megillah, it says, see how beloved are Israel in the sight of Hashem. In every place where they were exiled, the divine presence went with them. They were exiled to Egypt, and the divine presence was with them. They were exiled to Babylon, and the divine presence was with them. And they will be redeemed in the future, and the divine presence will be with them. When Mashiach comes, the Shekhinah itanu. So now the family of Israel, not including the daughter-in-laws, joined them, and they were 70 souls. And the Torah lists them by name. So the first, he didn't have too many daughters, right? He had mostly sons. But actually, one of his daughters is Serach bat Asher. Asher had a daughter whose name was Serach. And when the boys came back from Egypt and they wanted to tell the news to Yaakov, so they were afraid that, sometimes you give such, you have to be careful. A person can pass out from, too much shock. So they told Serach to play on her harp. She played the harp and sing Yosef, Od Yosef Chai, Od Yosef Chai. And then in the song, and he's the ruler of Egypt. And that's why she sang it to him. And so he should absorb the message slowly, like you're listening to the song, and then you suddenly say, "Hey, what's going on?" And
Was it before the gift of Yosef or after?
It was before.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
It was before.
Because
And so Yaakov says to her that the mouth that informed me that Yosef lives won't taste death. Like he blessed her that she should live a long, long life. And she was among those that came out of Egypt because all the brothers had already died, but she stayed alive. And she entered the land of Israel, and she was a very wise woman. She was the one who handed over Sheva ben Bichri to Yoav in Shmuel. You could look it up. It's an interesting story. And in the end, it says that she entered Gan Eden alive. Her and Eliyahu Hanavi,
wow.
she never died. And we're told also that when Benyamin was brought before Yosef, so Yosef says to him, "Do you have a brother?" And he said, "I had a brother." This is before he revealed himself, and he said, "But I don't know where he is now." So he says, "Do you have a wife?" And he says, "I have a wife, and I have 10 sons." And he said, "What are their names?" And he said, "I named each one after my brother." And the names are Bela, which means he was swallowed up from me. Nivla, he was swallowed. Becher was the second one, and he was his mother's firstborn. Then he called his son Ashbel, which was, he was taken away captive. He called the next one Gera. He became a stranger, like a ger in a strange country. Naaman, his deeds were very pleasant. Naaman is like very naim. Achi, he was my brother. Rosh, he was my superior. Mupim, he was exceedingly beautiful. We know that Yosef was extremely beautiful. And Chupim, I didn't see his chuppah. He got married. Obviously, I didn't see him get married. And he didn't see mine. And the last one was Ard. He was like a rose bloom. That's what the Medrash tells us. Ard, it was like a rose bloom. So, yeah.
Those were the
Those were
children
10. Those were Benjamin's 10
Benjamin.
sons, and all of them were named after. So you can imagine how Yosef also that aroused his
expression
emotion.
of his brother.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay.
Otzar Milim, huh?
What was the name of the woman?
Serach bat Asher.
Zera?
Serach.
Sarah?
Yeah, like
Zerach.
Serach. Sin Reish Ches.
Simba.
Asher.
Serach?
Serach. Yeah.
No Zerach.
No.
What's that meaning of Serach?
What was her name? Well, you know all the names, what they mean.
I wanted to know.
Asher's daughter. Let's see if it has an explanation. It just says that she was one of the 70 members of the patriarch's family who emigrated from Canaan to Egypt. Her name, let's see if it says what her name means. It does say. Let's see. And her name occurs in connection with the census taking. She's also mentioned, okay. It doesn't say what Serach means. See Serach. Oh, it means a star.
Star?
A star. Serach means her star, I guess. Okay. Now, what happens is that it says that all the souls of the house of Yaakov came to Egypt, and there were 70. Now, if you count them, there's only 69. Actually, there's less because Yosef and his two sons are 3, so there's like 66.
7.
No, 66, 67, 68, 69. Take off 3. There were 69 altogether. So there was 66. And so who's the 70? So we have 60. So we have 69. We're missing 1. So there are 2 explanations. One is that basically everybody knows that Yocheved was born as they entered Egypt. As they entered Egypt, she was born. Now this is interesting because she's a girl. She was just a baby, and she's counted.
Wow.
So it's like, where's the woman? For the feminist, the women, they say she's counted, and she makes the 70. She was the one who, but it also says that that Hashem was like also joined them. So there's a medrash that says.
I was thinking of that.
Yeah.
Yocheved was
Yocheved was the 70th. And so they were 66, with Yosef is 67, 68, 69, because Yosef and his 2 sons. And then Yocheved was born, so that's 70. And also Hashem said that I'm going to enter into count with you, and I will go down with you into Egypt. So this in Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer says that he continued.
Yocheved was the child of whom?
Of Amram. She was the mother of Moshe Rabbeinu. She gave birth
She was
to
the son of Amram.
Yocheved was the wife of Amram, actually, and it says that Amram was the father of Aharon, Moshe, and Miriam. And
It's amazing how so many came to Egypt and were accepted by Pharaoh. He was happy to have them there. Didn't he give them Goshen, the land?
He gave them
of
Goshen, yes. So
to live in?
So what happens is it says that when they come to Egypt, so it says Yaakov sends Yehudah in front of him, lehorot lahem et haderech. What does lehorot means? To teach. More, hore, to educate. And what Yaakov wanted him to do was to build a yeshiva. You can't come to a place where there's no Torah study. So he built a yeshiva, a center for Bet Midrash, so they can educate the children. I mean, they all came with lots of children, and they sit and study. And this is also something that teaches us that this is the first thing you do, a place of learning Torah. That's what the previous Rebbe did, Yosef. Right? Yosef was the 6th Lubavitcher Rebbe. When he came to America, the first thing he did was build the yeshivot, and he sent his emissaries. He sent my father-in-law. He was one of the first ones he sent to Worcester, to Wisconsin, to all kinds of places to open yeshivot. And that's how America grew. He says America is not different than any other place. Like they thought America, Sam, like all kinds of secular names, like they became just like everybody else. And here we'll make money, the golden land, this is the land of gold and and the previous Rebbe said it's not any different, and it'll be based on Torah learning, then it'll bloom. So Yosef is informed that his family is on his way, And he doesn't wait for them to come. He harnesses his horse to his royal chariot, and he is going to meet his father. And there's the excitement of this reunion, you could just imagine. And he meets his father, and he hugs him and all, and his father doesn't react because his father is in the middle of saying Shema. When you say Shema Yisrael, you know, he was busy. And when you say Shema Yisrael, is like the ultimate of love of Hashem. It says, V'ahavta et Hashem Elokecha. So he's like showing his love to Hashem for connecting him back to his
Thanking
son. That definitely. So that was like the first thing he did before he turned to his son. And so Yosef tells his father and his brothers that, listen, they can all be shepherds. They continue to be shepherds. They're going to get their own land, the land of Goshen. It's rich in pasture, and you can, really make do over there. So he takes some of his brothers and he presents them before Paro, and they follow Yosef's advice, and they speak of their occupation as shepherds, and Paro decides he's going to agree, give them the land of Goshen as their inheritance. Then he presents his father to the king, and Paro asks him how old he is, and he says, I'm 130 years old. And he says that his life was filled with hardship and sorrow, and he blesses Paro and he takes his leave. And he settles in Goshen. We know that he lived 17 more years, and those were the best years of his life. 17, I lived 17, Paris, right? That's why I always say Pras instead of Paris, because when they say Paris, what? I have to say Shimon Paris? No, it's a Pras. So 17 is gematria. The numerical value 17 is good. Tov. Tov is Tes is 9, Vav is 6, and Beis is 2. That's 17. That's 17. So 17 was the best years, like in numerical value of the years.
And
Good.
Yosef also left when he was 17.
Yeah, he was sold when he was 17. So now he takes control of all of Egypt, and the Jewish nation is being built, actually. And in honor of Yaakov, the famine ceases. No more, even though only 2 of the 7 predicted years of famine passed after all these events, there was no more famine. That they were prosperous. And remember, all the citizens came to Yosef's storehouse to purchase food, but then the people's money ran out. So Yosef, he sells food in exchange for flocks and cattle and other livestock. And by the end of the first year of the famine, the people are left with nothing but their bodies and their land. And Yosef acquires all the land of Egypt in exchange for the food in the storehouses. And he becomes the owner of all this.
Very wealthy man.
So first of all, he prevented the disgrace of all these foreigners attaching to his family, and he's in charge. And the end of the second year, we said that when the land starts yielding produce through Yaakov's blessing, and Yosef gives seed to all the subjects of the kingdom, and they reach an agreement that 1/5 of the produce is going to be given as a tax to the royal treasury. And he enriched the royal treasury in a way that was never before. And the people were so thankful, and they praised him for treating them fairly and enabling them to rebuild their economies. And this is the end of the portion.
That's why Pharaoh doesn't want to Yaakov to live in Mitzrayim. When he died,
Yeah. Hashem tells him, he mentioned him that you're not going to be buried here. You'll be buried in Israel.
I was yesterday in another class in Hebrew,
Yeah.
and the question was, since Yaakov went very quickly to Goshen, and the reason was that he was so far away